I'm Kate.
I'm Elle.
We're down to Faye, and today we're talking about one of our favorite series, again, Black Dagger Brotherhood by J.R. Ward.
We've discussed this series before several
Several
times,
times.
but we've not given it its own standalone episode, and it deserves that.
And the timing is perfect because the Black Dagger Brotherhood show is coming out on Passionflix today. And we're definitely going to talk about that in the future. But today we're going to focus on the books and the brothers.
I mean, there are 20 plus books and multiple spin off series. Today, we're going to focus on the world building, characters, and book one, Dark Lover.
Black Dagger Brotherhood is just one of my comfort series. Like, it is a world I love to revisit because it's so defined. I don't know how else to put that. Like, I know the characters, I know their personalities, the backstories, the vocab. Like, I know all the places, like all the bars and the parts of the city. Like, I feel like I've been there. Is that crazy?
I'm immediately sucked right back in. Like, even just preparing for this, I'm already like listening to the Audible on book 3. Like, I was trying to go through book 1 and I just can't stop. I'm sucked right back in.
Well, I don't know if you would call it nostalgia or sentimental, but there's just something so comforting. Like, especially there's always new books coming out. Like, J.R. Ward is a machine, and she's such a character herself. She also lives in Kentucky.
Okay.
So, like, one
close.
of us. But with all the books and the spinoffs, you don't really have to say goodbye to characters because they show up even when their book is over. And we love that. That's something that we love about, like, some of the K.F. Breene series.
You know, I'm just thinking as you're saying it's so easy to fall back into. She's done such a good job defining the characters and defining the bonds they have with each other that the minute you start reading, you're like, ooh, I forgot about this. I can't wait because that means this is going to happen. And you get so excited to be back with the brothers.
Well, they have all their little quirks. Like, one of them likes Tootsie Pops and another likes trash reality TV. And it's like, I feel like I know them.
Exactly. You could go hang out with them immediately and have all the right things to say. And you know the different personalities and how they all click together.
Well, have you ever seen that trend on TikTok where it's like, I've never been here, but I know my way around? That's how I feel about, like, this world. Like, if someone dropped me in the mansion, I would know, like, whose room is where. I would know, like, who's eating the ice cream and the dog, and, like, I would just know everyone by name.
Yeah, I know exactly.
It's actually kind of concerning how much I know about this world.
I know exactly what you're doing right now. So and so is playing billiards together.
Exactly.
This guy's down in the
Someone's
weight room.
listening to laugh to Someone's listening to rap too loud.
All of them. They have they love their
I know
rap.
who drives what car. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Let's get into the world building.
Yeah, because there's so much going on. Like, for us to structure this, we really had to do, like, world building, characters, and then we're going to talk through the first book.
Well, because we could really start talking about the different brothers and like go off on a side tangent for one of them. And
well, they could each have their own episode. Like, I do in the future want to do episodes on some of the individual books.
Yeah.
Especially some of our favorites. Like, your favorite is Z and mine is V.
Well, because there's so much that happens in every single book. It might be about like one couple, but you still see POVs for other brothers and things that are happening with them. So it's almost, no matter which book you choose, you're hearing about more than one character.
Yeah.
And you're so invested. So with the world building, the series is set in present day Caldwell, New York, which is meant to be outside of New York City. I'm not sure if it's an actual city, but they act like it's about an hour.
It is in my mind.
Yeah, so they act like it's about an hour outside of Manhattan. It is the main colony of vampires in North America.
There are other supernatural species in this series, like shadows, sympaths, angels, but the main focus is on the vampires, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, and the humans don't know of the existence of any of these supernaturals.
A little background on vampires. They are not created, which is a little unique. They are born. Vampires are a different species who require the blood of other vampires of the opposite sex to survive.
Can we really even call them supernaturals? Like, it's different from
It's
anything
just a
we know.
different species.
But yeah, they're species. They live, they're born, they die. Like, it's a whole life cycle.
They just have, like, I think it's a 5-chambered heart. I don't know what usually hearts have.
4.
Okay.
Wait, that's actually really, sorry. Really funny.
See how I'm like, that's so specific. Why do I know that?
Because it's your favorite character that we have to hear about his heart.
Oh my God, it is V. It's when
V
he goes
gets
to the
shot
hospital.
in the heart. This honestly makes so much more sense to me, though. Like, as, like, a species that, like, has to feed off the blood of others in the species as opposed to humans because
Mhm.
human blood would be so weak compared to what they have.
And vampires are not immortal, but they do live longer than humans and they have increased strength, speed, and senses, and they're sexy. They can't go out in the daylight, so many have doggin, which is another species who can go out in the daylight and they gladly care for the vampires and their families. And they're like butlers and maids and cooks, but they fucking love their
It's
jobs. They
super
live for their
sweet.
jobs. And it's like a way for us not to feel uncomfortable about the dynamic.
Yeah, well, they do say that they're servants, which I'm assuming means they get paid, but they're
Mhm.
also usually treated very well, and just the characters we meet that are dog-in,
They have their own personalities too, like,
they're so
Fritz has
funny.
his little recipes that he sends into the newspaper, like, they're their own characters.
Fritz loves taking care of the warriors also. He's like, "Alright, sires, if you don't mind, could you beat up the human out here so you don't get blood on my rug?"
No, he
"Thank you,
specifically
sire."
asked for a dog that would
Oh,
shed more, so he had more to clean up.
that's so sweet.
I know.
So, the vampires in this series are not born with fangs and bloodlust. They are actually really small and weak until they transition around age 25. This stage before the transition is called pre-trans, and the transition is really similar to puberty, but it's abrupt. Like it happens all at once and it's actually life-threatening.
When the transition hits, they need the blood of a member of the opposite sex of their species immediately or they're gonna die.
Their bodies will rapidly grow and change. So, like, maybe for the females, it's not that different, but for a lot of the males,
Woah.
like, we have a character that we see go through the transition. He starts, I think he's 5, 6, 100 pounds. Like, people see him and they think that he is a young boy. They don't realize he's like 23 or 24.
Mhm.
But then he grows to like 6'6", like, I don't know, 250 pounds. Like, they just dramatically overnight change their shape and
Mhm.
size. So it's painful and isn't intense.
Painful and exhausting, but great news, they also suddenly have a sex drive and the ability to have a boner.
That really just sounds like
Woo!
puberty.
So puberty,
Like,
yeah.
everything all at once. Oddly, fully transitioned vampires have no body hair, which I think is funny.
I
They
appreciate that.
they pointed out multiple times in his hairless body. I'm like, "Is it weird or is it
Like one of those
sexy?"
cats.
But they can grow facial hair, so like, "Okay, just
Thank
their heads
God.
and their faces. Cool."
They can also erase the memories of humans, scent emotions, and dematerialize, which is like apparating in Harry Potter, unless they're surrounded by steel. They can also purr and growl,
Like, for real animal sounds, not like cringy men growling in
like the
romance novels.
vibrating in the chest.
Yeah.
They only require feeding once or twice a month. Otherwise, they eat and drink like humans. So you see them like sitting down for dinner like in the morning, but they have meals together.
The majority of vampires are called civilians and they are not trained to fight. Instead, they're just living their normal lives. They live together in communities for protection because of the constant threat of vampire slayers.
The deity who created the vampire race is the scribe virgin. She created them as her legacy and her chosen children. Her evil brother, the Omega, resented her ability to create life, so he uses humans to, air quote, create lessers, aka slayers, to hunt the vampires.
The humans sell their souls to the Omega and in turn become the undead. They don't need food or drink and they are much stronger than humans.
But unlike when vampires transition, lessers are unable to have boners. And over time, and they don't tell them that in the sales pitch.
Half
It's
them
like a shock.
I'll say half them get like tricked into becoming
Yeah.
lessers.
And where you could go to like a Gold's Gym, and I feel like 50% of the guys would sign up for this. But also, the color leaches from their hair, skin, and eyes, and they have a smell of baby powder and black, sludgy blood, and they keep their hearts in jars.
Sounds disgusting. The Black Dagger Brotherhood was created as a fighting force to protect the
But
race.
they aren't like other girls. They have been bred to be the strongest, the fastest, the biggest, the most ruthless, the sexiest.
The sexiest. To be initiated into the Brotherhood, your father must have been a brother before you, and your mother must be a member of the Scribe Virgins chosen per the Scribe Virgin's command.
Or that's how it starts out, at least.
Yeah.
The Brotherhood was once much stronger and larger, but they haven't been led by a king in centuries. The lessening society is also constantly growing and recruiting, but vampire procreation is much more difficult.
Vampire females are only fertile every 10 years, and the
If
pregnancy
only.
the pregnancy also lasts over a year, which is
So
insane.
sweet.
Many females die during pregnancy or during birthing.
The members of the Brotherhood keep their identity secret in order to protect their families because they become targets, and several of their families and people they care about still do become targets.
Like, if you were to see one of them, you can tell somebody's a
Oh,
brother
yeah.
because I mean, the average vampire is strong and, like, beautiful, but these are huge
Mhm.
males. Like, you can tell a difference. But imagine if, like, a civilian vampire was caught by a lesser and tortured for the whereabouts of the Brotherhood. Like,
You
they'd
don't
be
want them to
effed.
know, yeah. The brothers have conducted raids over the years to knock down big numbers of the lessers, but they want to stay off the radar of the human police. Again, the humans don't know that vampires exist. And they kind of both sides of the war have agreed to like not let the humans in on it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like they
There's an
both work.
understanding.
Yeah. At the beginning of the series, there are only 7 active brothers out fighting. Our MMC for book 1 and the leader of the Brotherhood is the unascended king of the vampires, Wrath.
Wrath's parents, the previous king and queen, were killed by lessers in a raid on their home when Wrath was still a pre-trans at 22. He grew up on the street after that. I'm not sure exactly why, what happened, but I think because king and queen died, part of their structure dissolved for the
Mhm.
vampire culture, but he was tormented and bullied by humans, so he kind of still resents them to this day for that cruelty.
Which is understandable. He eventually made his way to the Brotherhood, but he never felt worthy to take the throne and he would rather fight than lead. He is like a fighting king.
So, like, we learn that his parents died when he was about 22, and when the story starts, he's around 350, 356. I saw different numbers in different places, but he's been alive for a while, so that is
Mhm.
hundreds of years that they have not had a king leading them. He is 350-ish years old with long, straight black hair, a defined widow's peak, full lips, carved cheekbones, and light green eyes that glow. He wears a pair of wraparound sunglasses 24/7 because he was born with poor eyesight and it only worsened after his transition. Nobody has ever seen his eyes either, not even the brothers.
Well, it's like he is this last pure-blooded vampire, but it's like when the royals back in the day would have like sons that were I don't want to say incest, but you know, like the Habsburg jaw, like things happened over time
Yeah,
when you keep it too pure.
yeah.
Is that like what happened here?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they really address why his eyesight is the way it is because his father before him had the same eye color but didn't have that issue.
But he is the last purebred vampire alive, and he's
Yes.
6'6", very powerful, always dressed in leathers, pounds of weapons, and shit kickers, which is just one of the words that I fucking love. Like, again, like how this world is so defined. It has its own vocabulary, and it's I don't wanna say it's dated because it's just of the time that it was written, so you can either read it and be like, cringe, or you can read it and, like, look at it as a time capsule of, like, what shows and what cell phones and things we had when this was written. Because it's like we talked about the same thing with the Fever series,
Mhm.
that they some of the songs, some of the technology is outdated, but that's just, when it came out, and this is a series that predated Book Talk, so it
Yeah.
missed out on a lot of those, like, people don't talk about it as much as they should, and I hope that we have some people who listen to us for the newer fantasy romance that go back and revisit some of these, like, older paranormal romances and urban fantasies because she's still putting books out.
Yeah, I mean, these are really well written. She is a great
They're yeah.
it's great world building, but the characters and the depth and the way that she writes their trauma and their
Mhm.
relationships to each other, like, it's so well done. I mean, she inspired JLA and some of the other
Uh-huh.
authors that we love to talk about, like, these big authors have read her books, like,
Mhm.
it is worth all of you taking a look at these, I'm just saying.
We're gonna keep doing episodes until everyone in the fucking world reads this
I
series.
know, we've not done enough of these apparently. Wrath's parents arranged a female for him for his transition because, again, they have to feed from somebody of the opposite sex when the transition hits or they're going to die, and especially, like, 100 years ago, a couple 100 years ago, this arrangement usually results in a mating or a marriage, but Wrath was living on the street when his transition hit. Marissa came to find him, she fed him, and then she left again. So it was some time later that they were actually mated.
Wrath and Marissa feed from each other, but he has never once touched or kissed her. They also live separately. Like Wrath values his privacy and Marissa is this aristocrat. I always wanna say aristocat, living with her brother Havers, and that's the race's physician. So
Wait,
that's just not the life that he wants to live.
this means that Marissa has been a virgin on a
What the
pedestal
fuck?
for over 300 years. Like, why are we not angrier about this Marissa? But
Justice
justice
for
for
Marissa.
Marissa.
I know you're thinking, why didn't she just leave or ask for a divorce? First of all, it's an honor to her and their society that her blood is keeping the uncrowned king alive. She also holds out hope. Like a lot of us have been in relationships where they're feeding us crumbs, or he's not even feeding her anything beside blood, but you're just like thinking that something will change eventually, something will develop. She's just been doing that for centuries, a little bit longer than the rest of us.
Well, and the way that their culture is
The Glymera?
the Glimera, it's like it's a really old school it's as an aristocrat, the culture is very snobby, it's very
Mhm,
old-fashioned. She's on a pedestal and she's cosseted, but the women or the females don't do much. Like,
mhm.
she's not given a whole lot of autonomy, and the males are always like, "I'll protect you," but she hasn't really had much of a chance to know herself, so Marissa's gonna have a big she'll have some changes that we love to see for her as well, but if she was to be left by Wrath, she would be humiliated,
Mhm.
and even now, like, most people pity her. Like, they're just like, oh no, sweetie, you don't smell like him.
Well,
Your mate should
I
mark
know,
you."
everyone knows how embarrassing, but what you're talking about with Marissa and, like, how the women are treated, I love that the females in these books are, like, falling in love, but they're also doctors and scientists and accomplished women. It's not 18-year-old virgins,
Yeah.
like, that are just, like, poor and saved by the man. Like, these women are accomplished on their own, and I
I
love that.
I do, I love it, and I just for Marissa, it's hard when you first meet her because 'cause you're like,
She does seem a little pointless, but then you get to know her.
well, it just you don't know the depth of her feelings and her thoughts because she's doing her duty, she's doing what's expected of her, how she's been raised, and then Marissa's gonna break the mold
Mhm,
in, I think, the end of book 2 or 3, and it
mhm.
is so exciting, I love that
And
for her.
sexy.
So sexy.
Let's break down the roster, the brothers roster. The current members of the Brotherhood, besides Wrath, Darius, an aristocrat and member of the Princeps, which is the council that leads, because Wrath still hasn't taken the throne, so
Yeah.
they're leading in his stead. And then we have the way that JR has spelled everything is so fucking funny to me. Like Tohr, Tor, aka Torment. And he is mated to Wellesley, and he's the most normal. Like, he will lead and militarize the Brotherhood when Wrath ascends. He's also our good friend JLA's favorite brother.
Oh, yeah.
Which was very surprising because he is an underrated brother. Like, everyone seems to go for mostly Rage.
You know what? I think she loves Rage and Wrath too.
Mhm.
Like, they're the OG
Yeah.
brothers. But also the names that it's just the way that JR has written these names. They're so obviously other words or different spellings of words you could be familiar with, and they're very specific brother names. So, like,
Mhm.
other vampires are not named like this. It's
No,
like
they are, because even when we see, like, murder is, like, spelled differently, and
yeah, but Murder is a brother.
I know.
No, other vampires,
Oh,
like the
other
civilian sorry.
vampires besides brothers.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
yeah, yeah.
civilian
No, you're
vampires
right.
Darius is the exception because he was
Mhm.
an aristocrat, but also a brother. They're very like Rage, Fury,
But then they're like, sprinkle
Sadist.
in some other letters. Like, let's put an H in there.
I mean, they do all have so Rage is another brother, and it's RHAGE, aka Hollywood. He is beautiful. He's an assumed sex addict, but he's also cursed.
We can fix him.
Rage is book 2, so worth the read because this curse is insane.
I thought that he would be my favorite because he's the most beautiful, and then I got to know V, and I was like, he's just mentally ill enough for me."
Rage was not dark and twisty enough.
No, you're right. I
I
love Rage, but yeah, I need more. I need him to treat me poorly.
Well, JR is so good about writing the vulnerabilities for these guys. So everybody has something. Like everybody assumes that Rage is a sex addict because he is like in the club having sex with women in a corner,
But he has
but
to.
he's got this curse that he has to keep himself even.
It's like
If
he has to feed the beast.
Yeah, literally, if he gets too excited, he'll transform into this like Godzilla monster thing. And so he don't want to kill people. So he has to like get off to calm
Mhm.
down.
I would help.
I am here to help. I
If I were
volunteer.
in these books, that would be my entire role.
Fury and Zadist are two of the other brothers, Fury, Phury, and Zadist, Zsadist. So, okay. They are
Okay.
twins. Like, see what you did there? Zadist is my favorite.
I know, you get him. I wanted Zadis for a while, and we fought over it because when we go into a series, like, we, like, have very defined, like, "Okay, this is yours, this is mine."
This is mine. Yeah.
And then I was like, "You know what? I like V had to grow on me,
Mhm.
but now, like, yeah."
I know, it's like once you read each of their individual books and you go back and reread, and you're like, "Oh, I see so much more."
Actually, I'd say I'm a Lassiter. I don't know, I'm a V girl, like, what is it when you have, like, a sun rising and then a moon, like, your signs?
Uh-huh.
They're those 2.
Okay.
I don't know which is, like, sun and moon and rising and
Lassiter's
whatever.
probably the son.
Probably. He does
Ba
like to go sunning.
based on his, the, like,
Choice of
bright light he
clothes.
does. Yeah. Well, Fury and Zadis being twins are dramatically different because Fury has gorgeous citrine eyes. He's got this multicolored long hair. He's like metrosexual. They always joke that he's GQ, super well
He
dressed.
and Butch love dressing up.
They do, and they like looking fine. He took a vow of celibacy after
Ooh.
everything that happened to his twin Zadis.
Zadis, aka Zadist, aka Z, has black eyes, buzzed hair, a jagged scar across his face, and permanent slave bands. He was kidnapped as a baby and sold into slavery, and once he transitioned, the mistress decided to force him into being a sex slave and a blood slave, which was illegal, of course. And Fury spent his life searching for Z. When he finally found him, he rescued him, but as they ran off the property, Fury was carrying Z, who had just been badly whipped, and he had to jump off a cliff. Fury's leg got wedged between rocks in the fall, and Fury had to shoot off his own leg to save them both. So, like, a lot of trauma there
It is a
for both of them.
horrific. However, I'm like trying to visualize it when they talk about it. I'm like, what? They ended up landing in the sea, and although Fury got them to a cave to recover the salt water because salt seals like scars and wounds, the salt
Mhm.
water sealed the scars. So Fury now has a prosthetic lower leg, and Z carries all of his rage at the forefront because he's these slave bands that he can't hide, and the whipping marks that go across his face and his back,
Mhm.
like everything that's happened to him is just out there in the open for everybody. So he is
That would be so hard to, like, upon meeting someone, the first thing they're gonna know about you.
Well, like, he's angry on his own for everything that was done to him, but just all the assumptions that are made about him, it just he carries his rage on his sleeve because he's like,
Mhm.
"If this is what you expect of me, this is who I'm gonna be." And plus, he hates women after what was done to him. He is unhinged.
Speaking of unhinged, Vicious, aka V, he grew up in a literal war camp. He had a sadistic father who, because V had a trans V had a prediction that came true. And so his father had warnings in the old language tattooed on him, including his face, that said he was cursed, like warning people that he was cursed. Then his father, the bloodletter, tried to have V castrated, and they were partially successful.
He has dark hair, very light blue eyes. They're described as like crystalline. He's got a goatee, and besides being dressed in leathers all the time and or a Red Sox hat, he usually has a leather glove to cover his deadly hand that can go nuclear.
He is a super smart techie, gets visions of the future. I feel like we're a dating profile. And he handcrafts their black daggers they use to kill the lessers.
He is a multi-talented.
He's so talented and so traumatized.
He is. And we learn in book 5 that he is the actual child of the scribe virgin. Remember their deity? So she didn't just create vampires, she actually birthed 2. He also has a twin sister that he didn't know about named Payne, Payne, and she has been in hiding, not by her choice. The scribe virgin has kept her in stasis.
But the whole thing was so fucked up with the bloodletter because it was like she got him for the first 3 years, I think. And then for 300 years, he had to live with his father, who was a like sadistic fuck.
Yeah, the scribe virgin, I guess she decided she really wanted to experience motherhood in general. So she chose the bloodletter, and everybody's like, "What is wrong with you? Why would you ever?" He's called the bloodletter. He is
Mhm.
horrific and brutal and violent. Like nothing good about this guy. She has a horrible sexual experience and then births twins, and they come to an agreement that she will get to
It's
spend.
a real parent trap
I mean,
situation.
but like she gets 3 years
Mhm.
with her child, and then she's gonna send him to a like, a
Yeah.
brutal, violent war camp. Like, what? What? It just doesn't make any sense. It's wild.
The series begins with Darius and Tor in a club with a rough crowd, and it's called Screamers, which I can picture. I know where the bathrooms are, actually.
They talk about it a lot.
Darius is telling Tor that he plans to ask Wrath to help him save his daughter Beth, who doesn't even know that he or vampires exist because she's half human.
Darius has no idea if she'll transition or not
He's so
because she is half
sweet.
human. I know, I'm like, I can't tell if this was the best choice or not because I'm sure she would have loved to have known she had a
But
father.
when she finds all the like clippings and pictures that he
I
had,
know. She doesn't know about him. He didn't introduce himself because he didn't wanna add a target to her back with the Lessers if she didn't transition.
and Wrath has the strongest blood of the entire race, and so Darius is hoping that Wrath will help feed her if she does transition because it'll give her a greater chance at surviving.
Because again, the transition is life or death.
Rough.
And some people, even when they have great blood given to them and are full-blooded vampire children, they still don't survive. Our FMC is Darius's daughter, Beth Randall. Beth grew up in foster care because her mother died in childbirth. Like, it's just sad. She's 25, so she's the perfect age for a transition. She's 5'9" with long black hair and blue eyes.
She's obviously gorgeous with a great body, duh.
The Beth is a journalist at the Caldwell Courier Journal, and she worked late this night. It's the same night that Darius and Tor are at
And
Screamers.
doesn't who okay, so he Fritz sends his recipes in to the journal, but then doesn't Lassiter, like, send in TV show reviews?
I think so. These guys have got to.
I love shit like that.
It's just
Sorry.
like, no, it's funny because it's like clear the internet's not as big yet. Like, give it time. They'll have their
Yeah.
blogs and get going. Well, Beth has worked late this one night and her office is not in a good part of town. She is walking home when she gets jumped by two guys. So, big trigger warning that I had forgotten until I reread the first book.
I
It just
forgot about this.
It's something like we talked about last fall, and I was like, "Geez, I hadn't reread the books recently." So first chapter, you don't have to read this part. It's basically battery, attempted sexual assault, and you can skip over it. You know, I
But
always
it's
do.
you can, like, go through the entire series, and then I go back and read some of my favorites. Or, like, I go back and I don't always read all of them from the beginning, like, I'll go back and read certain books.
Yeah.
So it had been a while since I'd read the first book.
Well, even just the first chapter, I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, I know they're gonna meet," so sometimes I don't start at the very beginning.
Yeah,
Just forget all
exactly.
about
I'm
that
like, "Let's
detail.
get to where she sees him outside of the bedroom." The takeaway is that Beth fights her way free and she breaks the nose of her main attacker and runs home. Meanwhile, Butch, aka Brian O'Neill, a homicide detective, hears a call on his police radio about an injured guy, and I had forgotten how early on Butch came in.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that when reading books from J.R. Ward, I think it's so interesting 'cause she jumps POVs a lot.
Yeah,
It's
in the
harder
same chapter.
Yeah, it's harder to break it down here, but it'll be a great TV show because you see all sides of what's
Mhm.
going on.
And the can I just say the actors are, like, very good looking, like,
Can
very
you just
attractive?
tell us? They are very
Especially
attractive.
Fury, and, like, upon my first reread, I don't think Fury was my favorite.
Well, he's beautiful,
He is beautiful. I
but
think I was
he's
just, like, depressed by his story. I think that he's like, they all have trauma, but especially, like, with his drug addiction and everything that happens, like, it's just so fucking sad.
Fury is very much a martyr because of everything that happened with Zadist, and
Right.
it is sad. And the more you read about him, the more you're like,
But
"Man,
they got his hair right too, that I was like, "Okay, that's
oh,
not bad."
I can't wait to see that." So while all this is happening, it's all happening like at the same time, which is crazy. So Wrath meets Darius and Tor at the club. Tor leaves when Wrath arrives because he does not expect this conversation to go well.
Yeah,
Again,
because he's gonna ask for Wrath to give his daughter blood when she transitions.
so Wrath doesn't even know about Beth yet. This is all going to happen at once because I guess Beth has reached an age that Darius is like, "Ooh, it's time to worry."
But at least he's worrying, that's more than my
Yeah.
dad's ever done.
Ooh. But also, Wrath doesn't like humans. So
Mm-mm.
Tor's like, "Good luck." He's not in full like hatred territory, but after his personal experiences, he just thinks very little of them.
Darius explains that he loved Beth's mother and he's worried for his daughter's survival, and Wrath still gently refuses Darius's request to aid Beth if needed because he himself is not gentle or merciful. Like, he's like, I'm not the guy for this job. And Wrath leaves the bar and encounters a lesser in the alley outside, leading to a fight.
Wrath kills the lesser and heads to Darius's home, which is interesting. Wrath has like a little like warehouse studio apartment in town, but like he's going to Darius's instead. Minutes later, Darius climbs in his car outside and he is killed in a car bomb
And you
explosion.
are not expecting a vampire to be killed in this fashion,
It's
you
very
know?
Crescent City. Like, we just met this guy.
It
What do you
is.
mean?
We do get a book of Darius,
Oh, yeah.
though, yeah. Beth receives a call from her friend Jose, also a detective, with a tip to head to Darius's crime scene. She doesn't know that she's going to her father's crime scene. She just thinks that she's getting a scoop. And at first, Beth doesn't want to go, but she tells herself she's going to file a report about her attack to keep the guys who attacked her from hurting anyone else.
Yeah, Beth is very shaken. Also, I God, I'm so excited about Darius. He has his own book, but also he's reincarnated in book 2. So, like, this is not the end
Hmm.
of Darius. It is so fun the way she writes that. Wrath materializes at Darius's home to meet with Marissa for her to feed.
I can even picture them like dematerializing. So I'm picturing them turning into like a bunch of like little specks and they just like fly through the air.
Yeah, I'm literally seeing like little vapors. I'm sure that's not how it goes, but like when you say
I mean, how
materializes, I imagine little
that's not how it
specks
goes. I don't know. I don't know if this is real.
because
This
it
isn't a
really happens.
documentary.
But again, Marissa and Wrath live very separately and they just feed from each other. So Darius's home is much nicer and obviously they don't live together. Wrath doesn't really want to have Marissa come to his warehouse because it's his like one place
This
that
is
is his.
Mojo
It's
Dojo Casa House.
it's for privacy. This is his place. Also, Darius has this gorgeous home and Marissa is very like regal. So
She's an aristocat.
it just feels more appropriate for her to be in this nice home versus his warehouse or whatever. He even has his own little room for feeding at Darius's. So after Marissa finishes feeding, Wrath gets the news of Darius' death.
Beth arrives at Darius's crime scene and bumps into Butch O'Neill, aka Hardass. She was hoping to find Jose because he's more easygoing, but he's not there. Butch is a little rough around the edges. Like he's more of a tough guy. He's Southie in Boston. Like I'm not an Affleck because I don't think they're actually tough, but like what they play in movies, you know?
Yeah,
Like Jeremy Renner.
like Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, but I don't think he's actually tough either. Like I think that Jeremy Renner could beat Mark Wahlberg in a fight.
I think about The Town and like that Jeremy Renner, like that guy was
Exactly.
tough.
Yeah.
But also, every once in a while, they'll say things to like make fun of Butch's accent. I can't do a Boston accent. I won't even
No, I'm
try.
not good at
It's
it.
the way that he says certain things that
Mhm.
they're just
Like Ka.
like he's a fighter. You're like, okay. Butch is really good
But he's
looking.
still attractive.
I know. Well, he is. He's like a little rough, like good
Mhm.
looking. He's got dark brown
Like he
hair.
fucks.
Yeah, that boy looks like he does not hold back. He's got hazel eyes, a fit body, but he also seems like he's lived a hard life of smoking and drinking. Like he'll talk about he's quit smoking, but he still hits the scotch.
Beth would prefer to wait and give the report to Jose, but Butch won't let her walk away because she has a split lip and he knows that something happened. She snaps at him to back off and he does. Then she leaves and she's like, I'm just going to have to follow up with Jose tomorrow.
Wrath calls all the brothers together to discuss Darius and investigate the lessers responsible. Since he just killed a lesser in the alley, he's like, "Did I kill the guy? Well, we got to look into this. I need to know." He's still at Darius's house when Fritz, the doggon, brings him an envelope that Fritz was instructed to give to Wrath if anything was to happen to
I
Darius.
really want to like write a bunch of letters that have to be delivered upon my death. And Darius gave Wrath the name, address, and a photo of Beth. And he also left Wrath the house he's in right now. And Fritz, he left him Fritz if Beth doesn't survive to adulthood, aka her transition. But he's really like guilting him into like, upon my death, you better help my daughter.
If she doesn't transition, though, like, are we going to go tell her about all this? He never really
Yeah, I
specified what
guess
to do
not.
if there's no transition. Wrath decides to check out Darius's daughter just to get a look at her and her situation. While he's lurking outside her patio, Butch shows up at her apartment to check on her. Like he let her walk away, but he's like, something's not right here. Wrath can't really see her well because again, he doesn't
He can't
have
really see anyone well.
yeah, Wrath has really bad vision. Eventually he will become the blind king, but like right now it's just kind of blurry.
What a dream, though. Just like this huge, royal, attractive guy that can't see. I feel like it's me.
He won't notice any of my problems, but
Exactly.
he can smell her and she smells amazing. He can also tell that she's near her transition.
After hearing what happened, Butch actually has an idea who Beth's attacker is because he'd gone to the scene earlier in the night. And Butch goes to the ER to get a confession from this asshole, Billy Riddle. Re-breaks his nose, but Billy has a father who's a senator, so it lands Butch on probation later.
Whoops, police brutality.
Just a light touch of police brutality.
Beth's cat wakes her from sleep as he meows at Wrath. Beth goes, it's so funny. Her cat, Boo, they talk
Oh, I
about throughout the
love the cat.
series.
I love the cat, and then later on, Wrath gets a dog.
Boo loves vampires. So Boo's just at the window, like, hi, hello, what are you doing out there? Beth goes to her patio door to close the curtain and notices that Wrath is outside. This man starts walking towards her and opens the locked door, coming inside.
Yeah, did we mention they can open locked doors?
Yeah.
Beth falls into a full spiral panic and then wakes up screaming because it was just a dream. Wrath realizes his approach. It was just a dream, was it?
Right.
Wrath realizes his approach terrified Beth, so he made her forget him. And after seeing Beth and overhearing about her attack, Wrath plans to honor Darius's last request and help Beth transition.
Wrath goes back to Darius's home and prepares to spend a day in mourning for Darius.
Elsewhere in Caldwell, Mr. X, the new four lesser, aka head of the Lessening Society, has been using a local martial arts gym as a recruiting ground, which is exactly where you're going to find the kind of guys that would be into this. He calls in all of the lessers to tell them about the change in leadership, and there's about 50 to 60 members in the Lessening Society right now, and he's going to make changes to make the society more efficient and effective.
They constantly have to change up their methods because the Brotherhood is always watching for them and hunting them. So, considering there are only 7 brothers, well, now 6, thanks to the car bomb,
RIP.
sorry, they're still able to kill around 100 lessers a year. Like, that's insane. It's hard to have an effective fighting team of lessers, though, if the more seasoned ones are killed constantly and then you have to make new recruits.
And all lessers are located in the New England area because that's where the vampires are. And ever since Mr. X joined the Lessening Society, the focus has been on reducing the vampire population by targeting civilian vampires. Mr. X wants to continue that, but also change the strategy because the key to their success will be getting the Brotherhood out of the way.
His new plan is to use civilians to draw out the brothers and also torture them for information on the Brotherhood.
And Wrath goes back to Beth's to introduce himself, and this time Beth assumes that he's police or ex-military, and Butch sent him to watch out for her. But once he gets close enough to her, she feels a blast of lust.
And she's never felt real lust before.
She's not a virgin, but she's never had much of a sex drive. Again, she's pre-trans, but she's in this blind sex haze, and they have very hot, very frenzied sex.
With this guy that she doesn't know his name.
I'd be like, this is probably a dream.
When the mood hits. After the sex, Wrath has to go on brother business, but he tells
Can
Beth.
you imagine hooking up with a guy who was just outside of your window and then he's like, I have brother business?
But also, like, if
What?
you're here to protect me, why are you coming at me from my window? She's on the first floor. Bad move. But she's just like, huh, okay, thanks for stopping by. But he does tell Beth the address to Darius's home. He wants her to come find him there tomorrow if he doesn't make it back to her apartment tonight. He also makes her memorize his phone number to contact him in case she feels threatened.
Nope, I'd forget that immediately.
Yeah.
When Beth wakes the next morning, Jose calls her to come by the station to get the scoop on a dead prostitute they found the night before. And it was not Zadis, thank you very much.
Or Wrath.
Or Wrath. Butch catches her when she pops in and they step into his office. He asks her out to dinner and she declines. And she also thanks him for sending Wrath. Like, hey, thanks for sending that huge guy in the wraparound sunglasses. But Butch has no idea what she's talking about.
That sends Beth into a panic because, yeah, what did you do, girl? And she leaves quickly. But Butch is also really concerned. Like, Beth, what happened? What do you mean?
Wait, what do you mean?
What do you mean? He had a lot go on last night. Beth goes to her office to try to investigate the address Wrath gave her the night before and anything she can about Wrath. The home at the address is actually registered to Fritz.
To Fritz. After working all day, Beth decides she wants to go eat with Butch after all, but only as friends. After a fun time at dinner, Butch kisses her goodnight and realizes he is firmly in the friend zone.
Oh.
But at least he recognizes it.
Wrath stopped by to check on Beth around the same time that she was kissing Butch goodbye, so he sees the whole thing.
Wrath is going to kill Butch, but Beth stops him, and Butch thinks Wrath is the one responsible for killing the prostitute since he does, to be fair, look like a thug, or he looks like the thug or drug dealer. and he doesn't want him anywhere near Beth because he's like, "Oh shit, Beth has got herself wrapped into something."
I mean, it's targeting and profiling because he's just because 'cause I'm wearing leathers and shit kickers, but
You're targeting me because I'm wearing shit
how
kickers.
dare you make this assumption? But also, Wrath lets Butch, quote, "arrest him" for the moment,
He's like,
and
"Okay."
Butch pulls off what he says is like 30 pounds of like an armory. He's got like guns, he's got these fighting knives, he's got throwing stars, and he's got this wad of
It's very
cash.
cartoonish, honestly.
But Butch is like, "Yep, this is correct. You're a problem."
Drug dealer.
How yeah. However, Wrath's parting words to Beth are that her father sent him.
In the alley behind the police station, Wrath easily gets out of those handcuffs, and Beth arrives to Wrath, putting Butch in a chokehold. She tells Wrath to let him go, and while Butch is recovering, Wrath tries to convince Beth to come with him because he can tell that she's very close to her transition. And if it starts during the daytime, he's not going to be able to get to her. It would be, what am I thinking of? Oh, Bill in
Yeah,
True
Bill!
Blood when he was trying to get to her
Oh,
and it was
he's like
sunny outside.
crawling across the
Yes.
graveyard to save her. She thinks that he is crazy
I mean, yeah.
but like he doesn't mention vampire to her, but he does list all the symptoms she's had lately and like all the weird things going on.
Mhm.
He ends with telling her that he will take her to her father's house, and that has her agreeing to go with him.
At Darius's home, she meets Rage, who is stitching up his arm in Wrath's bedroom. Wrath tells her about being a vampire.
And he is literally an idiot explaining the situation. Like he's a typical man.
He's like, "See? Fangs!" And she just crashes out. Then things get sexy. I mean, obviously. But once they're done, Wrath loses control of his hunger because it's been too long since he last fed. He can't feed from Beth because she's going to need all of her strength for her transition. So he kicks her out while holding himself back to keep from hurting her and tells Fritz to get her home. I thought we were staying together because of I'm about to
Yeah,
transition.
shouldn't I just stay in another room? Like, confused. He calls for Marissa through their connection so that he can feed. He's half crazed when Marissa gets there and he mistakes her body for Beth's.
Poor Marissa.
Marissa can feel his lust and gets
She's
excited.
like, "Nice."
It's literally like, things are happening. Things are finally happening for them. So she
Aw.
peeks into his mind and she sees that he's thinking of Beth.
When he finishes feeding, Marissa tells him she officially releases him from their agreement slash binding and leaves. Like, bless her heart.
I mean,
Don't worry, she gets her own story.
I know. I'm like, I'm happy that she finally is just like, I'm not doing this anymore, but like 300 years. Okay. Fritz takes Beth home and Tor meets her there as protection. They have a conversation about mates and wives, and Tor mentions some males take more than one, but then he won't answer if Wrath has one.
The combo happens because Tor can tell that Wrath has marked Beth with his scent.
The next day at
You're
work,
like, I don't remember Darius leaving this part in his letter.
yeah, wait, what? The next day at work, Wrath calls Beth to invite her to a nice dinner at the mansion.
BTW, Butch has been officially placed on probation for overuse of force against Billy Riddle.
Fritz picks up Beth from work to take her dress shopping for her date that night, and she's like, "This is so exciting." Tor chats with Wrath about Beth while Wrath is
It's
getting
girl
ready.
time. We
Yeah,
love talking while we get ready.
if only it worked out that way. Wrath is already insecure and feeling exposed about the effort that he's putting into this
I mean,
date.
do you ever like when you're trying, like you're like getting ready for a first date and you're putting on all your makeup? It's kind of like putting on clown makeup.
I mean, only if it goes poorly. But like Wrath doesn't make this kind of effort for any female.
Mhm.
So Tor's like, what's happening here? He's afraid to admit to his feelings, so he picks a fight with Tor instead.
Classic.
Wrath says some things that are below the belt about Tor's mate, Wellesley, and then goes to his date totally pissed off.
Beth is already nervous and she's also worried about Wrath not being single. And it just fuels his anger further when he can scent her emotions. So it's not the best start.
Wrath wants to know why she's late. So like she comes in and he's like making all these demands, like, whoa, okay. But it's because Butch showed up at her apartment wanting to check on her after last night's showdown. And when Butch realized that she was going on a date with the guy he considers a killer, he tailed the car and Fritz had to evade him.
Which it's like in the moment you're annoyed, but it's also like Butch really thinks that she's in trouble and he's trying to help.
Yeah, Butch
Like
is
this is on
trying
from the outside, you're like, what the fuck is Beth doing?
Butch is trying to take care of her.
And Wrath uses the opportunity to pick a fight and push her away. Classic man. She asks to leave, and that takes the wind out of Wrath's sails, and he starts to become more honest with her.
Beth learns more about vampires, and Wrath makes a cryptic comment that he doesn't expect to be around long after the transition. Wait, what? And then he'll find her a male to feed from. Like, oh, okay.
I'd be like, like rage.
I like mixed signals here. What's going on?
Things get sexy again, and Beth asks about condoms, realizing she probably should have thought of that sooner. But he tells her he can't carry human diseases and she isn't fertile. Female vampires go into their needing every 10 years or so. I fucking love a needing.
Oh, and we get one of those with my man Z. It is sexy. There are usually signs a few days in advance of a needing, like it's usually related to the hormone fluctuation. But when the needing hits, the female's body sends out like a shockwave of pheromones that calls to all the males in the vicinity. The longer a male takes to come inside the female in her needing, her body will send out more and more pheromone.
And the longer that she is in a cum dumpster, the more painful it gets. For unmated females, they can be given morphine to get through the experience. For mated females, it is a 2-day constant sex marathon and feeding that most males enjoy very much.
Gosh, and I just I already loved Z, but the kneading scene is very
It's so
sexy.
fucking I love that. I think about it all the time.
It is very hot, but also, like, Z has his own demons to overcome.
Mhm.
Obviously, Z being Zadist is the one that we mentioned that had been, like, kidnapped, and he was a sex slave, and it was awful. But
Mhm.
so he has to, like, work through that, but I love him, and I love that
And
scene
then
in
there's
book
a
3.
whole, like, Fury thinks that he's in love with her, and that would be, like, usually death to another vampire, but, like, obviously they work through it because they're brothers, and, there's so many, like, plots and subplots and side plots and
I
like, there's
mean,
so much going on in this series.
oh,
I love it,
no,
though.
to be stuck between 2 twins.
I know.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
no. They Wrath and Beth have some hot sex, like, I love the spice in this series, but Wrath is meeting the brothers after midnight, so he has to leave Beth. Wrath tells her where she can find her father's room before he goes, and Beth finds black and white pictures of her everywhere.
Oh, this made me tear up. In Darius's desk, she finds clippings from every article that she has ever
That's so
written.
sweet.
He's kept a very close eye on her over the years, but he's kept his distance again in case she wasn't a vampire. She falls asleep in his room looking at a picture of the mother that she never met.
Meanwhile, the cops are looking for Beth because another prostitute has turned up dead, and they think Wrath is the killer and that she's protecting him.
Yeah, everything went sideways last night when Wrath jumped Butch and then Beth left with him. When Beth wakes sometime later, Zadis is standing
Whoop!
over her.
Jump scare.
And he is intentionally terrifying her, like, he is being such an asshole. Wrath got shot in the field, and Rage's curse came out to play, meaning his, like, dragon Godzilla monster, so Z had to go pick them both up because they can't dematerialize when they're under stress like that. When Wrath enters
Which
and
is such, like, a relatable thing. Because if I had to do anything under stress, I wouldn't be able to do it either. Like, if I were super anxious.
I mean, like, if I am yeah, I was gonna say, if I am dealing with a gunshot wound, I probably am not gonna dematerialize anywhere. Wrath comes in shortly after Zadis was in there and tells Zadis that this is Darius's daughter, and Z's tone changes completely to one of respect.
He leaves the room and Wrath is like, stay away from that psycho."
No problem. Then Rage is showering in Wrath's bathroom. Don't hate this for us. And when he comes out, his stomach is distended and he feels like shit. This is really sweet. Beth brings him Alka Seltzer, and both of them in. Like, Rage has had this curse for like, I think 110 years now because the curse is supposed to last like 200 years. So he's had this curse over 100 years,
Mhm,
and Beth is the only one that's like, you should take some Alka Seltzer. And the guys are
mhm.
like, what?
But also,
What a
like,
great idea.
Rage has been intimate with so many women, but he hasn't been intimate. Like, no one has been taking care of him.
Yeah, it's so pitiful. It's in a sweet way. Like, Rage is curled up on the bed, and Beth brings him some Alka-Seltzer, and so she has to climb on the bed to reach him because he's such a big guy. He ends up curling over in a ball and putting his head in Beth's lap, and Wrath is there, but he's, like, loving this. Beth rubs his back and murmurs sweet things to Rage, and she's, like, humming to him a little bit.
Both men lose their shit in a good way that she's taking care of Rage.
I mean, Rage, again, nobody really takes care of him, but Wrath is immediately like, "Thank you for caring for my brother." Later, Beth and Wrath talk of his parents, and they have sexy, slow sex and sleep.
They have
Sexy,
sexy,
slow
slow
sex.
sex. The next morning, Beth still insists on going to work. I'd be like, when do I move in and become a trad wife? But they have a sweet combo where Wrath does a 180 saying that he wants to be with her. He just hates that it's going to make her a target. And men will never let you know their next move because it literally went from like pushing her away to sleepy sex to I want to be with you.
Also, this trad wife thing, this is my house, right? Does
Yeah,
my
I live
father?
here. Oh, you know what? Good
Why
point.
am I going to
Get
work?
out, all
Because
of
she gets
you.
up and goes to work the next day, like, pause, what? Like, she's not asking enough
Am I a
questions.
millionaire now?
Um, I would love this, thank you, yeah. She doesn't really push that question. When Beth gets home from work later the day, though, she knows that she needs to pack a bag to go back to Wrath/Darius's slash her
Slash
home,
mine.
but she passes out on the floor with her arm extended towards the
I can
phone.
picture this.
I know, it's kind of scary, like, she was feeling kinda run down, she's like, "I must be coming down with something," even though Wrath literally told her about the transition, like, the night before. She had agreed to meet Butch for dinner earlier in the day, and then she was like, no, I don't," like, kind of more like a police rundown, not a friend thing, because they wanna ask questions about Wrath.
Mhm.
She wants to back out of that, she needs to pack and leave, and she just passes out. And then Butch walks around to her patio because he hasn't heard from her and he sees her face down.
He breaks in and assumes drug overdose based on pupils and lack of coherence. So he calls 911, but she keeps begging him to take her to Wrath, which he finally does. And he assumes that she's in withdrawal from heroin or something. And she's just telling him she's going to die.
It's like, I guess, kind of a weird, I'm surprised he really took her to Wrath, but I guess he was, like, trying to get her methadone or something for withdrawal will
Hmm.
take too long versus just giving her another hit.
Yeah.
So he breaks down and takes her to Wrath, and he's beating on the door of the mansion while the brothers are having a meeting, like, big mistake.
Huge.
Wrath rushes in and grabs Beth, taking her to his room for the transition, and he tells the brothers not to let Butch leave.
Beth survives the transition and Wrath proposes to her once she's through. We're moving very fast.
Right? It's like, "Okay, I've changed my mind again, another
Remember
180."
Marissa? She makes a trip to the mansion to talk to Wrath, but encounters Butch for the first time.
Ooh.
The two are entranced with each other, and Wrath gives her permission to spend time with Butch, telling Butch to behave and to take care of her. Butch still thinks that he needs to protect Marissa from Wrath because he's a murderer, and this is like some sort of very sexy mafia house. Butch is like really misreading.
I know. Poor Butch. He is trying very hard. And spoiler alert, Butch and Marissa end up together. And you know what? Since we're giving all the spoilers, I wasn't sure what to think of Butch's character in the beginning because he's kind of not crass, but like brash. Like he's just kind of in your face, but
Yeah.
it's all with his love, you know? But
Hmm.
he ends up being related to Wrath distantly and he gets changed to a vampire.
It's very dramatic, and then he and V have, like, something that I really thought was gonna be something else, but then they end up just having a very cute, close friendship.
I don't know. There was some sexual tension that
But
was
there was some
mixed in.
sexual tension.
I know, like
I'm just
Butch,
saying.
it's like
I think they touch each other's dicks, and I don't it's not on paper,
the dicks definitely
but
touch
they
when he's
touched.
turned into a brother
Yeah.
because he has
They did touch.
because V lines up their bodies and gets in there and, like, bites him, and
Yeah.
honestly, I think it's book 11 was the first time I read a romance novel with, like, gay sex that was, like, really hot and
Oh my
dirty.
god, that's Blaine?
Blaylock.
Blaylock.
Blaylock and Quinn,
Yes.
and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't stop reading this,"
Yeah.
because they have multiple orgasms, like, I was like, "Oh my god."
Mhm.
You know, I'm a different person now. This this is a whole side tangent of why you guys should keep reading this. It is so fun. But, back to our current situation. Later in the evening, because Butch is like, "I wanna see Beth," and Wrath is like, "If she feels like it, she can come talk to you."
Hey, yeah, I don't answer to you.
Butch is just, like, trapped there, like, "What is going on here?"
But Butch still thinks like, "I'm a police officer," and they're like, "Hmm, okay."
But he can tell that, like, he's like, "I am not in charge here, so I'm mad, but I'll stay where you tell me." Later in the evening, Beth comes upstairs and she does end up telling Butch about vampires, and the man was really just too stunned to speak.
I would honestly be like, "Are all these people on drugs?"
"What is wrong with you?"
But the other brothers come in the room and give Butch some scotch, and V asks if they could kill Butch now, and Wrath stops him. But Butch says he can defend himself. He can go dick to dick with V and says something about having to like he hates to have to fight another Red Sox fan based on V's hat. And like, did we just become best friends?
I mean, like, they've become, like, I think they get drunk together and spend the night in the same room, and then eventually they're roommates, like, they're
Yeah.
adorkable. They quickly are very, like, on the same page. Later that night, Beth goes to sleep in her father's room, and Wrath dons his white robes and calls upon the scribe virgin, asking that she bless his mating ceremony to Beth.
She scolds him that he's failed his bloodline and let their numbers dwindle. I failed? What have you been doing?
Yeah.
But let their numbers dwindle because he will not lead, and the race has become isolated and no longer follows any of their traditions. She refuses to bless the union, but after Wrath begs, she says she will do it if he will ascend the throne and lead his people.
I do love how much in this series JR includes like the little subtleties about their culture and I guess it's a religion
Mhm.
because the scribe virgin is not just some like deity that they've heard about. Like he can actually access her and speak with her and pray to her. Like she is,
But then there's also, like, God, because that's who Lassiter,
yeah,
like, yeah, it's interesting.
yeah. There's a
'Cause
lot
the
of,
Scribe Virgin and the Omega
oh, they're
are
very real.
siblings, so then their parent,
Yeah.
which we don't really hear that much about.
Yeah. It just I love that he like earlier for Darius, he's put on a white robe and he's going into mourning and they have all these different rituals that they do and they all know. And sometimes they switch into their old language and they have these formal phrases and these terms. Like it is a whole culture that it's
Mhm.
so interesting that JR includes all the little
Well,
details
and we haven't even talked about, like, the Fade, like, the afterworld, and the where the Scribe Virgin lives, where the Chosen live, like, there are just so many
or
layers.
even what the chosen is, really.
Mhm.
There's so much to get into. This world is
Which
very
really
detailed.
comes into play for Fury's arc.
Well, and so he's frustrated with the scribe virgin, but she's frustrated as well that Wrath has not called on her in the past few centuries, and that's going to change for the sake of his people. The scribe virgin's counsel to him as king is part of her purpose. And of course, she's been lonely and forgotten all these years.
Mm.
Not sad. They agree to the mating ceremony that she will attend that night.
Butch spent the night at the mansion because he got drunk with the brothers. He and V passed out in the room together, the beginning of their bromance.
They're so funny because even later, like Wrath comes to talk to them, and like I think Butch is in the middle of shaving and, like, V steps out of the shower, and you're like, "What is
What's
happening here?"
happening?
Before the mating ceremony, Wrath takes Vicious to go kill Billy Riddle, remember that asshole from chapter 1, in order to avenge Beth
Avenge with an H.
I know they're again,
Avenge.
their old language, to avenge Beth before their
I think
mating.
we should start adding revenge to registries. Like, if I'm getting married, I should be able to put a list of who I want revenge from.
Yes, exactly. I need you to avenge me with these people before I seal the deal. They get to Billy's house to see him getting picked up by Mr. X, who is the four lesser of the Lessening
So
Society.
now Mr. X is too stunned to speak because he can't believe the blind king actually exists and lives. Like, nobody, like, Wrath was more of like, I don't, a myth, I guess, or like someone they didn't know if he actually ever existed, if he did, if he was still alive, where he was.
Because he hasn't actually ascended the throne, but he is still Wrath, son of Wrath, so he should be king
He's
if he
Wrath,
ever
son of Wrath.
if he ever stepped up to like I know.
It's so
It's his
funny.
name.
I know.
Well, anyway, the fact that he just shows up, he's like, "Whoa, not only are their brothers here, but the king is actually here? What is happening?" As Wrath is poised to attack, state police cars pull up because Billy's father, again being a senator, has received a terrorist threat in DC. So the police are on the premises for extra protection anyway, and they approached when they saw the vampires
They
appear.
were like, "What the fuck?"
What is happening here? V and Wrath erase the humans' memories of them and they leave to get to the mating ceremony.
When Marissa returns to her brothers, Havers is enraged to smell aftershave on her. He has been angry over Wrath's treatment and lack of respect towards her for centuries, and that's pretty valid. But for Wrath to dump her for a human and Marissa to go see him after that anyway, like, it's too far.
He also is assuming the aftershave is Wrath's. So
Yes.
it is not. It is from Butch. But Havers is like, we're not doing this anymore.
Oh, I've been
Havers,
saying Havers. Oh no.
it's okay. Havers dematerializes to a bar downtown and asks Zadis to assassinate Wrath. And Z says, sure, on the house.
Of course, his request was overheard by Tor, who reports it to Wrath, and they both assume that Z meant it. It's kind of sad how everyone other than Fury expects the worst from
I
him.
mean, even Fury does. Like,
Yeah.
and Z has done a lot of unhinged behavior, but
hmm
I guess because he didn't want to talk about it, people haven't thought about his motivations for some of the things he does.
Wrath calls a meeting with all the brothers, excluding Z, to discuss this before sunrise. This is an automatic death sentence for both Z and Havers, Havers?
It's, I think, Havers.
Okay, shit. I've been saying Havers.
Well, only because I listened to the Audible recently.
I've never listened to the Audible. How is it?
It's good. It's one guy, and he varies the voices a little bit for different
Mhm.
characters,
At
but
least it's a guy and it's not a girl the whole time.
yeah, I mean, it's one person, but you fall into it. Beth wakes hungry mid-morning and goes upstairs to make herself some food. Wrath is beyond terrified because, again, it's mid-morning. And, like, the house that they eventually live in, they have, like, steel shutters that go down on over every window and door to protect them from sunlight, but that's not how this house is set up. So, Wrath can't go with her up the stairs because of the sunlight. She's just up there, and he's like, "Are you able to be in the sunlight? Are you okay?"
Like, do you hear me screaming?
But because she's half human, she's actually able to walk in the sunlight.
Z calls Wrath while Beth is in the kitchen and tells him about Haver's request. Wrath would like to believe Z was calling to tell him as a loyal brother, but nobody has any faith in Zadis, and Zadis has waited hours to tell anyone anything. So you're like, are you telling me because you know that I know?
Well, it's like, yeah. Also, he somehow knows that the brothers got together without him, even though nobody told him. So Wrath immediately calls Fury, and he's like, Z just called.
Mhm.
Did you talk to him?" And Fury's like, "No, I swear I didn't say anything. You ordered me not to."
Well, Wrath also thinks that those dead prostitutes are from Zadis because he only feeds from humans, and he only has sex with prostitutes. Like our boy has a lot of your boy has a lot of trauma.
My boy earned it. He was a slave for 100 years, okay?
It's very
It
sad.
is a really sad. Like, all of the things he does have reasons, though. Like,
Mhm.
it makes sense.
It does make sense. If you had that experience with a vampire, you wouldn't want to have any sort of.
I mean, he feels very unworthy of all females, especially if it's a female of worth. So he's looking at prostitutes, and he also looks for the prostitutes that are kinda glassy-eyed and, like, rough, like, they look like they don't give a fuck. Like, he
Mhm.
doesn't wanna traumatize people unnecessarily, and, of course, he erases their memories of him. But living off of human prostitutes, he's survived, but he is very, very weak, and although he's muscular, he's kind of emaciated.
Mhm.
But also, being a slave before, I mean, he was a sex slave, but he was also a blood slave. So people took from him all the time in every way possible, and
It would be very triggering to try to be in one of those like a relationship where we're both getting giving blood and getting blood.
yeah, so he doesn't wanna be close to another female vampire if he doesn't have to, like, and even if he's having sex with the
My
prostitutes,
Shayla. I love him.
it's not until book 3 that you know that he's never actually gotten off. Like, he's having sex with them because he's having some urges, but he doesn't allow himself anything, like, he's just constantly punishing himself. There's so much trauma there. I forgot I was going, "Oh, but because he feeds off the prostitutes, and whoever killed these prostitutes, like, intentionally made their neck look chewed up to try to, like, confuse what actually happened."
Mhm.
So Wrath is like, "Z, you fucking
Mm.
asshole, at
Yeah.
least clean up after yourself." Fury pleads for Z, though. He's like, He didn't do this. He wouldn't do that." And Wrath agrees to hear what Z has to say that night in front of the brothers.
Mr. X, dressed as a gas and electric repairman, it's so cartoon, is scoping the house while Beth is in the kitchen. Wrath can smell him from the basement, but he can't come upstairs in the daylight. He calls an upstairs phone to get Beth's attention, and she makes eye contact with Mr. X right when she's talking to Wrath. She drops the phone and runs for the basement, but Mr. X comes crashing through the back door, tranks her, and kidnaps her.
Wrath calls Butch for help immediately because Butch is still in the house.
Mr. X knows he has the queen based on the ring on her hand, and he knows the king's going to be able to track her because his blood is in her veins.
Mr. X has been grooming Billy Riddle, Beth's attacker, and
Remember him?
he's finally tricked him into selling his soul to the Omega. So the night before when Wrath and V were there before the mating ceremony, Mr. X was picking up Billy to go force him to become a lesser, and then Wrath went and got mated, and now it's all coming back
It's
together
really an
again.
MLM,
Yeah.
the lessening society.
But yeah, so Mr. X tricked Billy into becoming a lesser, and he thinks this is the perfect training opportunity for Billy.
Butch goes looking for Mr. X and he realizes he's turned a corner. Like, he's like, I guess I'm actually believing vampires exist, and I'm joining the hunt for lessers. Like, I'm not just a police officer, a really good looking police officer with an accent anymore.
Well, he also is technically on probation, so he's like, "What else do I have to do? Might as
That too,
well."
yeah.
And it's Beth, his friend.
And my best friend.
Marissa wakes to find that Havers has locked her in her room. So again, Havers is her brother, and she can't escape
But
because
they need Havers also. It's like hard. I feel like if it were anyone else, he'd be done,
Mhm.
but he is the
He's the
physician, he's
race's
the doctor,
physician.
yeah.
Yeah, so, like, the clinic for, like, majority of the race is in his house. But Marissa, I guess Havers just to help save her from herself, he decided to lock her in, And she actually has steel-lined walls in her room, so she can't materialize or dematerialize out of there.
It's like you could, but it would chop you into tiny pieces.
Yeah, it's like other series we've read with Faye and Iron, like, it
Mhm.
just immediate stop. She starts calling out for anybody to come help her, let her out, and when she stops, it turns out Havers is on the other side of the door. He's like, "I did this to protect you from yourself."
Okay.
She tells him that Wrath is mated to someone he loves now, and she's gonna meet someone else. Havers realizes this has been a huge mistake.
Beth is chained up but left alone as Mr. X and Billy prepare for the arrival of Wrath. They know he's going to be there as soon as night falls, and Wrath arrives and kills, or he thinks he kills, both Lessers, but not before he takes a shotgun blast right to the stomach. Beth tries to give him her blood, but it's not strong enough, and V and Butch get to the scene, followed by Marissa and Havers,
Fortunately
also known as Havers.
Fortunately, all this is happening at the same time that Havers is realizing his mistake, and because Marissa's blood is in Wrath, she can, like, find him and
Mhm.
dematerialize to him. So they arrive, thank God, just in time because Marissa has much stronger blood. Her blood is pure enough to keep Wrath alive as they rush him back to Havers' clinic to operate.
But it is awkward because the brothers all know what Havers did.
Mhm. They all are, like, staring him down. We do get Havers' POV, and we see that in the alley, Z turned him down immediately.
Everybody owes your boy an apology.
They fucking do.
Zadis may be full of rage, but he was offended that he'd even been thought capable of treason and of being a traitor. When Havers walked away from Z, he found himself being tracked by a lesser, and to save his own life, Havers was being tracked by a lesser. And to save his own life, he betrayed the king by telling him everything he knew.
Yeah, so that
Like double, like first he was trying to get Wrath killed, and then he almost did.
yeah, he was like, "Alright, you know what? In case that doesn't work out, here's what I know."
But also now they know where that house is.
"Yeah, y'all gonna have to move." Havers had regrets once Marissa told him that she was okay with releasing Wrath, but then once he saw Beth's devastation in the operating room, it struck home just how wrong he was. And we do get a little background on Havers in the story. His mate died during childbirth, so when he sees Beth's face, like she's devastated and helpless, he knows exactly what that feels like. So he, not that he wouldn't anyway, but it really encourages him to do his very best to save Wrath.
Once Wrath recovers enough to sit up, he tells the brothers he is leaving the Brotherhood and ascending the throne. He pardons Havers as a gift to Marissa, since he knows that the doctor was just doing this to protect her honor. And Wrath actually kind of sucked as a Hellrin. Like, honestly, he was the worst
He did
to
not
her.
I mean, he did not lead her on, but he also if he had left her, she would have been completely humiliated,
Yeah.
and, like, again, their society is so snobby, it would never have been let go, so, like, he didn't I think he was, like, just hoping she would leave on her own, like,
Yeah.
"Please go, Marissa, please don't make me do this to you." Wrath tells the brothers they will also be moving to a remote home of Darius's, and
Darius was rich, rich.
Darius, like, grew up with money and then invested it well for show. But they will be giving this home all the protections possible and adding a training center because after his talk with the scribe Burgeon, they've got to do a lot for this race.
It's like, let's get down to
Yeah,
business.
we got we got some work to
And
do
then the
here.
training center later on, they like bring in new recruits, and then there's like a new generation, and we get their stories. Like
I
it
mean,
just goes on and on and on.
it's literally like what a four-story mansion. I've forgotten exactly, but like all of the brothers are supposed to live there, and they just keep adding people to this mansion. So it's like a
Hmm.
big, not a frat house, but like everybody's together. All the brothers are gonna have to live there.
As the threat to the vampires grows from the lessening society on the outside, so does an internal threat from the band of bastards led by Tor's half brother, X-Core?
I don't know how to say
X-Core.
that either.
We'll call him. No, we can't call him X because of Mr. X.
X-Core.
Originally, the band of bastards followed the orders of V's horrible father, the bloodletter we talked about that gave him the tattoos and tried to castrate him, or did halfway castrate him. And they were strong fighters and also hunting lessers, but it was very different vibes from the Brotherhood. Like they were a lot more. The band of bastards were a lot more brutal
They're
and
brutal.
like rule following tradition.
They eschewed all technology, like, they
Yeah.
were I don't know, they had some different ideals about how things should be handled for the vampires for sure. The Brotherhood will need to find new ways to grow and expand in order to continue to protect their race, especially from the prophesied son of the Omega.
Unlikely alliances will form between the Brotherhood and the Sympath King, the Moors, the Angels, and eventually the Band of Bastards.
Each book covers the meeting and typically the mating of a new
Well, I
couple.
know we focused on book one, but there's rage in a human named Mary who finds a pre trans orphan named John Matthew who's taken to the Brotherhood by Bella. And Bella is this like beautiful vampire born into the Glymera, an aristocrat, but she's shunned after having sex before mating. And then she's kidnapped, and Zadis goes after her. And then that's the book with the kneading that we were talking about.
Meanwhile, Vicious meets a human doctor when he's taken to a human
Who,
hospital.
like I said, is like, what the fuck? Because he has a heart with 6 chambers, and V is bi and kinky.
Vi V is very BDSM, like,
V is bi.
whoa. Fury has a wild arc that involves a drug addiction and becoming primale.
And he finally, oh my God, Primale. I've been saying primal in my head. Primale makes so much more sense. He also finally breaks that vow of celibacy. And once you read about the brothers, like you were saying, Quinn and Blaylock, the Band of Bastards, like the Band of Bastards, their leader, that book, The Chosen, is actually one of my favorites. I love that story with Layla.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's so many love when they JR introduces new characters, and they're gonna be somebody really important later on. Like, even John Matthew, who is actually Darius reincarnated, but
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't know that, and so John Matthew gets found and gets brought in, and the mate for John Matthew is Zex, and Tor and Darius were actually there when Zex was born, and then ooh, I won't tell you who dies.
There's so
I was about
many
to, like, draw some things, but
connections.
there's, like, all these connections that it's like, "Oh my gosh, this happened because of this," like,
And then the farther you go into the series, the further when you
further?
go the
Both?
further you go into the series, the more, like, species and, like, the more lore you get.
Yeah, well, because we talked about Bella, who brings John Matthew into the Brotherhood, and then she gets kidnapped, and Zeta saves her, and Bella's brother, Revenge,
Mhm. With an
keeps
H.
REH, Venge, keeps his sympath side a secret from his sister Bella, and he ends up being a really important character. He also runs the new club they love to hang out in with, like, prostitutes and drugs, so, like, he's dark on the side, and she doesn't know.
But the sympaths are also super interesting, like, he can read and manipulate minds and emotions, and their dicks, like, lock into the
Yeah,
females.
it's not even nodding, it's, like, locked
Like,
in.
locked in. There is also angels and demons, and again, my favorite character is a fallen angel named Lassiter, and he's originally sent to help Tor after Wellesley's death, and when he finds him, he's, like, trying to starve himself, and he shoves a Big Mac in his mouth and takes him to the Brotherhood and just, like, never leaves, and he's flamboyant, and he loves trash TV, and he's gorgeous, like, the characters just feel so real. Like, they're just so defined and developed, and they have such unique personalities. Fury and Butch love fashion. Lassiter loves trashy TV and he dresses in loud colors and animal prints. Fritz sends his recipes into the newspaper. V hand rolls his cigarettes. Rage is always eating Tootsie Pops. Like, I literally feel like I know them.
Gosh, they would just be so much fun to go hang out with.
And to fuck.
Yeah, and to fuck. I mean, it's not just the brothers either. There are side plots and spinoffs like the Fallen Angel series, Black Dagger Legacy about recruits, the prison camp books, and the
Mhm.
Wolven. We hadn't even talked about the
We haven't even
Wolven.
talked about the
It's
Wolven.
all taking place in this Black Dagger Brotherhood
And
world.
I know that can probably, like, if you're new to this world, that probably sounds very overwhelming. Obviously, you don't have to read them all at once. You can read them and then go back to your favorites.
I got sucked right back in. I was talking about it earlier. Like, I meant to just like go over this to like prep, but like I'm already in the middle of book 3 after I started looking over these. I just can't stop reading them. They're so good. They're great for palate cleansers. And
Mhm.
again, going back just to reread your favorites.
What's a very unique and, like, vividly realized world. There's intricate lore that you can I remember it's been years since I've read some of these books, and I remember all of it. It leans into the, like, paranormal and fantasy elements, but there's also very human themes with loss and abuse and addiction and mental illness and trauma. The story is grounded in emotional reality while having all these paranormal and fantasy elements. Like, it if it doesn't feel that heavy, like, all of these things are heavy, but there's also, like, the humor and the banter and the dynamics with the brothers that it's make it feel light. It's just like a good balance.
Yeah, I mean, you get a large interconnected cast whose relationships, their rivalries, and their romances, they bring both spice and depth.
Yeah, you witness true growth because sometimes it's like if a book series or if it's like a duology or like even a trilogy, y like, you only have so much time,
Well,
but
there's just yeah, you get so many different experiences as the
mhm,
series continues. So it's not just like we have one big thing that's an arc for the character and then we have our happy ending.
you
Like,
can witness true growth, you can witness transformation, you see people have kids, you see people be reincarnated, like, I can't recommend it enough.
oh, it's so much fun.
And we're looking forward to watching the TV show, and I think we're gonna try to watch it this week and then talk about it next week.
Oh, yeah, we've got to look into this. I am so excited. DM us if there's a book series that you think we should cover at DTFA Podcast.
Thanks, y'all.